Justin, welcome to the Lockdown Barbecue Show. You're based in Texas. How are you found in lockdown at the moment?
Oh man, I got to tell you, it's a little surreal. I think everybody kind of feels that way. But you know, I can't complain too much. We're in a spot where we're kind of spread out from our neighbors, so we can go outside. We have space. Doesn't feel crowded. You know, it's just different. It's just crazy. You know, pandemics turned out they're not the greatest thing in the world.
Your YouTube channel, for the viewers that don't know, Justin has a YouTube channel, Babyback Maniac, with 80-something thousand subscribers, I believe. I'd be interested to know kind of when it started and how you got into it.
From the moment I got into barbecue, I have a little bit of ADD. So there's one of the side effects of ADD is hyper focus. So anything I'm into, I'm really into, right? So I focus on it really deep. And so I was taking in all the information I could about barbecue. So I was on all the forums, posting and cooking all the time, probably 12 times a week. During that time, I was also on YouTube a lot. So what's funny is some of my favorite YouTubers now are some of my best friends. But back then, they were just heroes. You know, they were barbecue heroes. They're just guys that I just couldn't get enough of what they had to say. So that was kind of my transition into it. Was one day I was talking to Troy Smith from T-Roy Cooks. He's like, you should get this cooker and then you should start a YouTube channel about it. And up until that point, it had never crossed my mind. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do that. But yeah, it was Troy. Troy's the one that got me into it. That was a long answer. I hope you guys aren't trying to squeeze me into your 25-minute time frame, because it's me, guys. I noticed all your videos are really nice and tight, which, by the way, your opening is amazing. I love that. It looks so good. You guys do such a good job with that. It's a very professional. Is that
down
Neil?
To Neil. That's down to Neil.
Great job, Neil.
Thank you very much. Now, with all YouTube channels, to be successful, we think having a great name for a channel is so important. How did you come up with the name Babyback Maniac?
Your name is so important. You know, that is like your business card. That's the first thing people see. That's the thing that you hope they remember. And one of the mistakes I see a lot of people do is they come up with a name that either is hard to remember, or even if you can remember it, you can't remember how to spell it. And so they'll do clever things with the name. And it's like, if you don't know how to spell it, you can't type it into YouTube and find it, you know? And so I worked really hard to come up with that. I wanted something that rolled off the tongue and that also was fun, you know, was silly, something that people would kind of go into it with a good attitude. You know, they didn't know what to expect. And at the same time, I wanted them to know they were getting barbecue if they clicked on it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. How long roughly does it take you to edit a video?
Oh man, are you sitting down? People say it's 2 hours per minute. I bet that's pretty close. By the time, and it's not just the editing, it's from the point where I think of the concept, because I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff that people probably don't realize. Like I do a lot of SEO work, like just finding things that have strong YouTube appeal, things that seem to work for my audience, things that I enjoy. I always try to triangulate between things that I love, things that I know my audience appreciates, and things that YouTube has shown that it's willing to promote. So you kind of have to have all three of those. Otherwise, it's just not going to work, you know? So I actually spend a lot of time planning out videos. So from the time I start planning them out to the time I reply to the last comment, 50 hours at least.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Blimey.
It's not something I, whip out in the afternoon.
Justin, obviously you've got so much kit to cook on, so many dishes that you do on your YouTube channel. Tell us, you must have a favorite.
Oh, I mean, I have to say ribs, right? I'm the Babyback Maniac, right? That's important. My favorite, probably, this might surprise people, but beef ribs, like beef short ribs. I don't know if they're called that there or not, but the really thick beef ribs that cook, you can cook for 7-8 hours and they just melt in your mouth. That might be my favorite. I really like a good prime rib. Those are some of my favorites, but yeah, it's all low and slow. I mean, we'll have steak or burgers or, just like everybody else. But for us, I mean, for me, it's the low and slow, and it's not even the smoked stuff is really, really great. So yeah.
Good answers. Good solid answers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Justin, I watched one of your videos where you do a walk around your backyard. You seem to have every single brand of barbecue there. Which one's your favorite?
Oh man, that's a tough call. Okay, so I get asked this question a lot, and there's usually two variations of it. Which one's your favorite? And if you could only have one, which one would it be? Right? So those are the two questions that I get. If you're asking me which one is my favorite, it's probably going to be my Lone Star Grill's offset smoker. So it's a big steel monster of a pit that is 24 by 48. You can pack it full of food. You burn real wood logs. I usually have post oak, a big stack of post oak that throw in a log every, hour or so and just sit there and smell it. To me, that is what American barbecue is about right there. That, especially in Texas, like that is what it's all about. And if I had all the time in the world, that would probably be the only pit I would ever have. As far as if I had to pick one, and I had to get rid of all the others, there are so many wonderful pits out there today that it's almost hard to, it's not hard to find a bad one, but it's hard to pick one for sure. I really like my Weber Summit charcoal grill. I really like my Kamado Joe Big Joe. And then the 26-inch Weber kettle is really close to my heart. Do you guys have that there? I know sometimes you guys get the better stuff than we do, and sometimes we get the better.
The 26, is that the ranch? That's not the ranch, is it?
It's one size down. So they probably have it measured in centimeters there, but like there's your standard size kettle, which is 22 inches. There's the ranch. There's one in the middle that is kind of like the Goldilocks of grill sizes, because it's got all the features of a regular kettle, but it's quite bigger. It's like 508 square inches of cooking space, I think, something like that. Yeah. One of those.
I love looking online to see what camera kit people have. And I've looked on your Instagram account to see what sort of cameras. You seem to have quite a few Canon cameras. Can you tell us what your setup is?
I have two Canon 90Ds. Because most of what I shoot is outside, and because the autofocus is so smooth, I use the kit lens a lot of the time. And I'm talking about the 18-135 kit lens. Again, it boils down to a very smooth autofocus. And then I have a Rode wireless, what do they call it? Wireless Go mic. That sits on my lapel. It's this little mic that's about this big, and it clips to your shirt, and then it clips to the top of the camera. You have a wireless Bluetooth, I think, connection, goes straight in, burns it onto the clip, so you don't have to do any syncing in post. It's perfect for what I do. And then I have a little Sony point and shoot one they just came out with called the ZV1. I've been listening to all these Canadian reviewers talk about it. The ZV1. That's what we call it here in America. And I use that for like walking around or travel, or I have a camera mounted above my grills, and so I stick it up there.
In terms of, for somebody like me who's starting a YouTube channel and wants to try and get subscribers, what would you say to somebody just starting out that's looking to kind of build a YouTube channel?
Well, I think the most important thing is when you edit your videos, you need to edit them in such a way. It's kind of a cliche to say story is king, but that it is. You need to edit your videos in such a way where every piece of time that you have in your video is serving a purpose. And if you can't tell me what it's doing for your video, then you need to pull it out. What you'll find is like a video where you pull out what's not necessary to the story, what's not adding knowledge or humor or pushing the story along. Like if you pull it out, you're never going to miss it. That would be the main thing I would say, is just while you're editing, ask yourself, if I wasn't me, would I watch this? Being able to like ruthlessly cut out things that you don't need, super important for keeping people engaged. Keeping people engaged for as long as possible on the video is super important. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that makes YouTube actually promote your video. Like if you can keep, for me, it's about 8.5 minutes. If I can keep the average viewer on the video for 8.5 minutes, there's a really good chance that video is going to do pretty well. And the other thing that's helpful is finding topics that are underserved. My approach since the beginning has always been, people are trading they're giving me their time, right? I need to give them something in return. I need to either make them feel good, help them with the buying decision, make them laugh, make them smarter, give them so that's a big part of it, is thinking of it as if you're serving your audience. Because I think a lot of times we as YouTubers, we get it twisted where we think they're here for us. And really, we need to have that approach where we're doing it for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes perfect sense. I mean, it's really good advice because I remember when I first started, my videos were 20 minutes long. When I look at them now, you know, I get them down to about 8 minutes for the same video that will tell exactly the same story and have the same end result and be as informative. Because you find you can sometimes maybe waffle on a little bit that doesn't need to be in there. So yeah, I think that's very important, is keeping the engagement there and just keeping something happening that the viewer's going to be happy with.
Justin, thank you for being a fantastic guest on the Lockdown Barbecue Show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin. You've been an absolute superstar.